What's up, Buff Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Common Sense Buffs. Man, this live was scheduled for, I don't know, like an hour and a half ago, man, but I was putting in work. You got to keep the main thing the main thing. Thank you, all of you guys who hit the notification button, all the subscribers, all the likes, all the people that are blowing up the channel. It's been a long time. I shouldn't have left you without some dope content to react to. All right, we're back for another breakdown of Colorado Buffaloes football. This time we are talking about the matchup between the Colorado Buffaloes and the Arizona Wildcats, where Colorado went out to Tucson, Arizona, and got busy. All right, first things first, man. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. We are on our way to 1,000 subscribers. We're going to turn up when we hit that 1,000 for sure. And I need you to help us get there. So let's run up the score, Buff style. All right. Let's talk about Colorado's dominant 34-7 victory over the Arizona Wildcats. The Buffs improved to 5-2 overall and 3-1 in the Big 12. Let's talk about that a little bit, man. Preseason, I had my Colorado prediction for wins or record at 8-4. So I had a couple categories. I kind of hedged, man, because based on the performance from 2023, I didn't want to kind of go too high, right, in a prediction. I needed to see what they were going to put on tape, what they were going to put on the field. So I had them at a ceiling of 8-4. And I was on TLP Sports Club. I think he thought I was exaggerating by saying that if Coach Prime goes 8-4 in 2024, he should be in the conversation for Coach of the Year. Now, some of you might say, "Hey, that's blasphemy." Go ahead and let me know in the chat. And also, you guys are the co-host of this show, so whatever you want me to talk about, go ahead and throw it in the chat. All right. So I had them at 8-4 for the ceiling. I had it 7-7, 8-4, and then 7-5 as a good season, and then 6-6 as a decent season. But people were gonna just be like, he's the worst coach. He shouldn't be coaching Colorado, etc. Even though that would be a 2-win improvement over the performance that they put out in 2023. So right now, the Buffaloes record-wise at 5-2, they have 8-4 within striking distance, and I think it's all upside after that. You know, maybe they go 9-3, maybe they go 10-2. I mean, now we're talking about the Buffs playing at a level of a championship team and doing that game in and game out, and I'm here for it, man. I think that's Prime's expectation. I think that's Rob Livingston's expectation, and I think most importantly, that's the players' expectation. And I think the crowd and the fans and folks like us want to see this team go on a run and possibly go undefeated the rest of the season. Not only that they're 5-2, we also love the fact, or at least I love the fact, that they are 3-1 right now in the Big 12. And the Big 12 is truly wide open. We have the teams that are absolutely in front. The current undefeateds right now in the conference, who are BYU and Iowa State. And then it is a four-way tie for third place. There are four teams, including the Colorado Buffaloes, that are 3-1 in the Big 12. And all of these teams are going to be playing each other down the stretch. It is going to be an exciting run to the Big 12 championship. And I think Colorado can do nothing but help themselves this weekend when Cincinnati comes to town to play them at Folsom. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. This is a reaction to their performance against Arizona. So let's get back to it. All right. Now, I think as much as Colorado with Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter on the offensive side of the ball and all of those weapons at wide receiver, a lot of people perceive them as an offensive first team. I think this is a defense first team, and that's kudos to Rob Livingston for the tremendous turnaround and the way the defense has been playing. This defense set the tone early and never looked back. They racked up 7 sacks against one of the best pass protecting offensive lines in the conference. Now, again, they were playing well up until this game. I don't think it looked like that on tape when they played. Give me 1 second, baby. I'll be with you in a second. Go start yourself. Sorry about that. Always got to handle family business, family first. This allows me to come on here and live and chop it up with you guys. So I apologize for the interruption. I'm going to keep going and keep getting busy. All right. So we racked up 7 sacks against one of the best pass protecting offensive lines in the conference. It didn't look that way on tape. Actually, I had this feeling, and I think this feeling must have been universal, in that other people on other channels that I had watched said that Arizona's quarterback, Noah Fafita, He looked like Shador looked last year behind the 2023 Buffaloes offensive line, and the Colorado Buffaloes got after him. He was under pressure. I think, I don't have all of the data with me, but on like 50% of his dropbacks. And no matter who you are as quarterback, if the defense is getting to you, creating hurries, and in this case, creating 7 sacks, that's going to be a long day for you as a quarterback. So, and big shout out to Shador. He was under that kind of pressure and he was still putting up numbers. So it's one thing to be under pressure and play like Fafita played. And honestly, man, I think that he has a lot of talent. I think he has a lot of potential. It was just a rough day against the Buffs that day, but I don't want to compare him to Shador directly because even though Shador was under a lot of duress last year, his offensive production was still outstanding. All right, now shout out, calling a few names directly on their performances in this game. Again, guys, you are the co-host of this live. Go ahead and in the chat, what do you want me to talk about? You agree with me, disagree? Go ahead and hit that. If you haven't hit the like, please hit that so it goes out to like-minded individuals, and please hit that subscribe. All right, big shout out to Keaton Wade, the Kentucky transfer. I have personally been waiting for him all the time. I know on Well Off Media videos, he's kind of sits by the door, so you always see him there off on the far right-hand side. But this is a guy that came in who was highly touted for the work that he had put in at Kentucky, and somebody that I think as Buff fans felt like he was really going to give us that pass rush. And in his first game, coming off an injury, immediate impact with 2 sacks. And he was commenting on the fact that they found packages for him that leveraged his skills. And so there was a lot of stunning going on the defensive line. So they were running twists and stunts with the defensive line to give the offensive line a different look and to confuse Noah Fafita, and it worked effectively. Also alongside Keaton Wade, his partner on the D line, Sam Oken, he's really getting started. Now, he was one of those guys where it was like his time at Pitt and how much work he had put in, a very young player, but very, very talented. And he's starting to play up to the reputation that he came into camp with when he transferred to Colorado. And it feels very much like D. Lou and Sapp have these guys dialed in. Now, the one thing I think, even though they're all playing well, including Arden Walker, of course, BJ Green, all of these guys are playing up to their potential. But I think Sapp and D. Lou want still more out of them. And the crazy thing is that Colorado has a lot of depth. When that game got away from Arizona, you saw a lot of guys rotate in, like Anquin Barnes, Ryan Buell, Tafik Thomas. I think all of these guys have tremendous potential. And so it's not just the starters that are playing well, but it's the next man up mentality. Oh, not to forget Tajay McCoy, who has been playing extremely well. He's one of those guys, when you look at him, you're like, man, how can this guy play defensive line? He's a smaller frame player. But technique are the hallmarks of a D. Lou and Coach Warren Sapp defensive line. Now, you can't forget that the pressure wasn't just coming from the D line, but also from the linebacker position. Okay, I see Debbie C in the chat. That sack poster CU Athletics put out is fire. Okay, I'm going to have to check it out. I appreciate you commenting. Welcome to the community for tuning in at this hour. I appreciate you so much. But the pressure just wasn't coming from the defensive line. You can't forget about the fact that Nakai Hill-Green also had a sack from the linebacker position. In addition, he added 8 tackles. And I feel like on the line is Chidozie Nwankwo, and I didn't even mention him, right? That's how deep they are on the line. But as Chidozie goes, so goes the D-line. And then Nakai Hill-Green is emerging as that leader at the linebacker position. But even there, they have some depth. Bentley has been playing well. You have Wester behind him and a couple of other guys that got some tick in that game. And I love to see them get some time on the field. So I think it's on that defense, Chidozie on the line, Nakai Hill-Green at linebacker, and then Cam Silman-Craig in the secondary. I think those guys are really, really the engine that keeps that defense going. Now, also, let's talk about the secondary, right? Travis Hunter is out. Probably the best, not probably, the best cornerback in college football is out, and Colorado wins that game easily, right? Especially the fact that they have a first-round draft pick in McMillan. And that was a matchup that was highly touted. Travis got banged up in the previous game. So we were looking for, I was looking for, because I love a cornerback play. Travis going up against McMillan for most of that game. No worries, right? A next man up mentality over at Colorado. Who comes in to hold it down? Colton Hood, the Auburn transfer, and Colton is turning into a turnover machine. 2 games, 2 interceptions, and he's hunting for that pick six. He's not just making the interception, but he's also very dangerous with the return. He has an eye for not only creating the turnover, but also trying to score. So I know he's hungry, right? And I think the better he plays, the more pressure it takes off needing to play Travis so many snaps. He could ease his way back into the starting lineup, get as healthy as possible. So I love the depth in what is allowing Coach Prime and all of his coaches to do when players are banged up, right? There's not very much drop off from the starters to the second guy up with this team. I think QBs better look out for this guy coming down the stretch. Um, I'm just very, very excited, and I think he was a steal, right, in the transfer portal, and he's working out very well for this team. All right, now if you're gonna hate on somebody, play well, you got to give them their props, right? And so let's not forget about special teams. This was a part of the 3 phases of football that almost cost Colorado the Baylor game. This special teams unit is getting better week in and week out. One of the kids, the second grade jersey on the team, I love seeing out there on special teams, and that was Isaiah Harge, along with Travis Hunter. Isaiah wears, hang on, guys, hang on. All right. That's my baby. I gotta go get her taken care of. So I'm gonna wrap this up. But I appreciate you guys being here. I know I could go about this all day, but I gotta put family first, of course. So if you're gonna hate on somebody, you gotta show them love when they play well. Alejandro Mata was flawless, right? Earning himself Big 12 Special Teams Player of the Week honors. This is a guy that everybody is hard on. I think he's hard on himself. Prime believes in him. He has to believe in himself, and he continues to play better week in and week out. He was 2 for 2 on field goals, 4 for 4 on extra points, and I love to see that. So big up to Automata. All right, now let's flip over to offense. I guess you can't totally get away from offense when you're talking about Colorado because they're playing well on that side of the ball as well. Now, again, if you hate them, you got to show them some love. The O line was solid. They only gave up 1 sack, which compared to some other games is, I mean, major progress. I think any football team out there would take a 1 sack game from their offensive line. And one of the things I think, the line is playing better too, but I think Shador is heeding what his dad or Coach Prime is saying and what I'm sure Pat Shermer is telling him, which is the fact that he needs to get the ball out quicker. He can't sit back there and try to be a world beater. And I've noticed the subtle change in him not trying to make every big play. Now, he did make some mistakes, and I'm going to talk about that. But hey, mistakes happen in football. But I think some of the things that we were most concerned about, he's starting to address issues like holding the ball too long. All right. Debbie C in the chat. Appreciate you again. Keaton has 3 more games before he'll redshirt to save eligibility. I hope he'll stay if when his brother leaves. All right. So, I mean, again, this is college football nowadays. But I think what Colorado brings to the table, not only in recruiting, but in guys who come through the transfer portal, is that although they're not a Big Ten big name like Ohio State, Alabama, or Clemson, they still do have the eyeballs of the scouts. Every game or even at practice, those players see those scouts and they realize that they're one of the rare teams that is, I think this week is going to be their 8th game on national television. Players still value that. I know there's NIL and there's a lot of other temptation. I know they're deep on the defensive line, but defensive line is a position that's used to rotating. I think if he can continue to have games like this, there are other players before him that are going to leave, and he'll have opportunities to keep playing. Now, you have to remember he's coming off injury. So he also needs to demonstrate his durability as a football player. And I think playing in these 4 games, if that's all he plays, or if he changes his mind and they're making a playoff run and he's playing well, and he feels that that's important for his draft stock as a player. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But I love where he is. So great point, Debbie C. Appreciate you in the chat. All right. So, yeah, so Shador is making some changes. The O line is playing better. There was a lot of rotation, so we got to see a lot of guys in that game on the O line. Seaton was a staple. Tyler Brown played, I think, his best game this season. Zelinskis had some issues with communication with Shador. We saw Cash Cleveland in the game. Um, uh, um, Myers was in the game. Harden was in the game. Benson was in the game. Phillip Houston is starting to be a staple on that right tackle. So, great game by the O-line. I know Phil Lodeholt is coaching them up, so they're going to continue to improve week in and week out. All right, I'm getting this stink eye. Ellie, 10 minutes. All right. Now let's switch it up to another area where we've been looking for improvement from this team as well. And that's in the run game. So I think fans and commentators alike realize that lack of a run game really cost this team and has been costing this team. And in some cases, unlike in Nebraska and Kansas State, we didn't pay the price for it. But in this game, like in the games that we have won, we stuck to the run, and that benefited us greatly. For the first time this season, really, we saw a legit run game, 155 yards. I think that was a season high, and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Isaiah Augusta has been extremely consistent. And in an interview with Coach Prime, he apparently has earned the start again this week. So he came in, he did what he needed to do. He rushed for 53 yards on 13 carries. And I'm calling it right now. All right. I'm willing to go out on a limb. He will be the first Colorado Buffalo this season to rush for 100 yards in a single game. How many people want to take me up on that in the chat? Let's hear what you have to say to that. Destin is a QB, and CU is stalking Juju. So Destin will probably go Portland. Ellie is more okay. I love that. I love that. All right, so yeah, let me get busy, man. And I make promises, and I'm trying to be faithful in my promises to myself. So I told myself I was going to do a live. It was scheduled for 8:30. I pushed it back to 10:30. She knows she's supposed to be sleeping right now, but she's up trying to get something to eat. We got to get up early tomorrow. So I appreciate that, Miss Debbie. I'm gonna go take care of business. So I'm almost done. All right. Now let's talk about Shador. And he didn't have to be Superman in this one, right? Typically, you see Shador having to be creative. Like I said before, he not even creative. He had to be a magician some of the early games, but he doesn't have to do that anymore in order for this team to get the win. He went 23 for 33 for 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he had 2 interceptions that were mistakes. One he forced, the other one got tipped and picked off. But it wasn't the most Shador-like performance, but the fact that we can still dominate without him playing out of his mind, that is a huge and important step in the Buffs' journey forward. All right, LeJontay Wester was his favorite target in this game. He was absolutely in beast mode, 8 catches for 127 yards. And y'all saw that one-handed touchdown catch by Will Shepherd, right? So again, another guy, if you're gonna talk down on him when he makes a big play, you got to show him some love. That was the catch of the game, no doubt about that. It was also a touchdown, got 1 foot in. All right, the Buffs are on the roll, and the Big 12 is starting to take notice. With 4 teams tied for 3rd place in the conference, we have a golden opportunity to break away from the pack when Cincinnati comes to town for a showdown at Folsom Field. I'll be back with my keys to victory, so keep an eye out for the next live. Thank you so much for rocking with me, Buffs Nation. Be sure to hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let's get to 1,000 subscribers, Buff Nation. I know we can do it. I'll catch you on the next one with all the keys to victory against Cincinnati. Skull Buffs. Big shout out to Debbie C. Until next time, peace.